There's no book on how to handle one TV show at number one, let alone two TV shows at number one, and then two parents' deaths, right? And then all of this stuff like is happening at once. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? It was just madness.
Shayne Jansen walked into Love is Blind with a smile on his face, but what no one could see was the weight on his chest. Just a few months before the camera started rolling, his father passed away. Sudden, unexpected, impossible to process.
I had all like these followers apparently, right? But like you never feel more lonely sometimes too when you have all that stuff. Yeah, so I resorted to drugs and alcohol, and that made me feel something.
Then came the headlines. Overnight, he became one of the most talked about people in the entire world. And while strangers laughed, Shayne was spiraling. What was your rock bottom?
I mean, obviously that TikTok that went viral was not a very good point in my life. I had over like 100,000 people watching that live.
And just when he thought he had nothing left to lose, his mother passed away.
You feel like everyone's against you too when your mom passed away, like, oh, someone's not there for you anymore.
But real love, the kind that actually saves you, isn't always romantic.
What was like the turning point for you to come out of the other side?
My friend gave me a stable home, but he believed in me as a person. You gotta have someone that believes in you.
Sometimes it's the friends who refuse to let you disappear, the people who see you at your lowest and pull you back.
People don't know this.
This is Shayne's story. Well, today we have the notorious, the famous Shayne Jansen from season 2 of Love is Blind.
Woohoo!
And we're super excited to get into a conversation with him and tell his story today.
Don't want to build it up too much, all right? I'm sure I'll give you enough clips to do.
So I think a good way to start this would be to start with how you came to be, Shayne.
So I was born in Georgia in the South from my parents. We moved up to Wisconsin relatively early. And dude, the one thing I always respected about my parents, like they were old school traditional parents. The one thing about my parents, they were always available. They were always there. That's why I have this tattoo here. That was for me and my dad, because that's how we showed love to each other. You know, we didn't really like hug or say I love you to each other a lot. We just like said like a fist pump. That's kind of our way of like how we expressed, you know, we did love each other, that kind of stuff, and we did respect each other. But they were awesome. They were both fantastic parents.
So Shayne, what was the whole thing with going on Love is Blind? What was that experience like for you? How did you like decide, okay, I'm going to do this?
Yeah. And I think like I've always been really honest with this situation. When they reached out to me during COVID, which I think honestly for my season it was right in the heart of COVID. So it's like I don't think people were like looking for marriage at that time either. It's like our lives were so rattled by everything going on. Like how can anyone say they were ready for marriage? Like we weren't able to date. We couldn't date during that time for like months. And the show reached out to me. I was at my friend's house. We were drinking, having a good time. They DM me on Instagram. At that time, I only had like 1,000 followers. So you know every DM you get at that time.
You see it,
and I responded to it. I'm like, sure, sounds like a good time. And I'm like, oh crap, I actually I forgot even DMing them back. And then one thing led to another and it kept going. It was like a 6-month process. Next thing you know, it's like, oh shoot, I'm flying out like in a week. I gotta get all my clothes ready, the ones they don't want you to wear, and then I missed my flight for the show.
Oh, you did?
I missed my flight because me and my friends, they threw me a going away party. I went and I'm like, oh crap! Like I slept through my flight, and they bought me a new ticket. So I missed the orientation that you guys have right when you get to the hotel, right?
They really wanted you. They really wanted you, Shayne. They're like, we got to keep this guy on.
Yeah, they knew right away. That's like we have to like something's going on with this dude. So I just sat in my hotel room, still not really sure if this is real or not. And like, yeah.
So when did you start to kind of be like, oh, this might be something real?
I guess you kind of find out right away because it's like that's the only thing you're thinking about because you have no cell phone, no work, all you're talking about. So it's like it has to hit you that like right away. It really does.
So Shayne, what did your mom think about when you told her you were doing this?
She was nervous. Yeah, your mom. Every mom is nervous. You know, you're going to do like they have no idea what this world's like and all that kind of stuff. She was excited for me for sure, but me going, not having my phone, so she couldn't talk to me and see what's going on with us and that kind of stuff. She was worried if it was real or not. Yeah, but she was excited. She was really excited though.
I know that you had lost your dad shortly before the season. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Could you kind of tell the story about what happened?
To your comfort level, of course.
Yeah.
No, I'm really open about it, and I think I've been open about that stuff a lot. It's like, yeah, it happened about 4 months before. Leaving my mom alone, I think, was the hardest part.
Did you have time to prepare, or did it just kind of come out of the blue?
My dad was out of the blue, but it was during COVID, so like you always kind of like you always have that feeling as a kid, as a kid, not as a kid, like as a son or a daughter, that if your parents got COVID, it could have happened, any day. Really, he got COVID, so it was kind of not expected, but expected at the same time. As like that way. My mom was living on borrowed time. She was, on dialysis, so she had triple bypass surgery. She was only supposed to live like about 5, 6 more years after the surgery, and she was on year 8 now. So like, if it did happen, you weren't shocked by it because of her health problems, but it wasn't something like she was going to doctor every day and like we had to be prepared for it. No.
When I lost my mom, it
Yeah.
it came out of nowhere. It was I had no idea. I got a knock on the door from a cop, and that's how I found out. It is a police officer telling me my mother had been killed the night prior, and I think about how long it took me to kind of to grieve.
Mhm.
And when it first happened, it just felt like this isn't real. I knew it was true. I knew she was gone, but at the same time, I it just felt surreal. It felt like this can't be reality. And I was just numb for a very long time. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
Um, how did you grieve, and how did that affect you?
That's a really good point, though. It's like, yeah, I was numb. It's like it never does. I feel like hit the days that does hit is like when you see other people like posting with their moms and all that kind of stuff. Like it's like no like certain days that hit more than others. I feel like it's just the random times you miss with the phone, FaceTimes and that, but you never really get over it. I didn't handle it really well at all. It happened right when my new show was coming out again. So it was like my dad right before Love Is Blind and my mom right after Perfect Match. I had all like these followers apparently, right? But you never feel more lonely sometimes too when you have all that stuff. And yeah, so I resorted to drugs and alcohol, and that made me feel something. I guess that makes sense. Like it made me feel something instead of just sitting like this, feeling numb and just doing that. You feel like everyone's against you too when your mom passed away. Like someone's not there for you anymore, and like it's just it's a crazy situation. It's just there's just no book on how to handle it for anyone.
Your identity almost changes because you almost feel like an orphan.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
You mentioned one of the coping mechanisms you had used was alcohol and drugs. What was your rock bottom?
Oh, that's a good question, dude. Dude, I had a lot of like, I mean, obviously that TikTok that went viral was not a very good point in my life that happened. I'm sure you guys know that TikTok that happened. A
Mhm.
lot of people reached out, were very concerned with me, and like that was right in the prime of everything that was going on in my life. The show was blowing up like crazy. It sounds sad, but like I was watching at that time, it's like for better or worse, my mom was on the show, so I would watch old clips of our season on Love Is Blind and see my mom on those clips, and it would make me even more sad. It will make me happy later on in life, like if I want to look back maybe sometimes at that stuff. But like at the time, it was really sad. I was able to look at that. Like that was probably the rock bottom of like that live going, and then everyone like recorded it, and like, dude. I had over like 100,000 people watching that live. That's more than a football game. That was probably it, but like it didn't stop me though. But that was probably the lowest of like what happened. I kept going after that though, still too.
What was your thought process when you were in that moment? Like, did you think you could look at yourself objectively, or how did you perceive the world at that time?
Like everyone's against me. People don't have my back. Again, people do, but you just don't think anyone does because you're just thinking everyone's against you or you're just lonely.
It's really hard because you say when you have a bunch of, just because you have a lot of followers or a lot of people who know who you are, doesn't mean that you're not lonely or that you're, and it's almost like people watch your pain for entertainment in a
Yeah.
way. And I'm sure that's a lot of what people were watching and following at that point with that TikTok and everything. Did anyone in your life reach out to kind of help you through, like, what was like the turning point for you to kind of to come out of the other side?
That took a long time because I had spots where I went completely sober again for like 4 months after that rock bottom happened. And then I was supposed to go on another show and I got turned down for that show. I was supposed to fly out to go on this other show, and they canceled my flight like 48 hours before my flight.
Whoa.
So, yeah, so I put my whole life on pause, put all this money into working out, my clothes for the show, all this kind of stuff, and then it got canceled. And I'm like, now where do I go with my life? I had once again, no goal for anything I wanted to do right at that point. You know what I mean? So when you have no structure at that point, and then I fell off the deep end again after that, and then that's when it really went bad, because then I'm like, all my money was running out. It's funny when you do this stuff, like you're making money, not really working. You know what I mean? So like the stuff stopped coming because I was doing what I was doing online a lot of times, So the money stopped coming at a certain point, and like I was spending it like a madman. That was probably the rock bottom. I was like, oh shit, if I don't get it together, I will be in really rough shape, and that's probably what happened. Yeah.
Sometimes we have to go to that low point to then be like, okay, there's no one that's going to bring this out of this but me. And I've been around substance abuse and in different, even in like romantic relationships that I've been in and different things. And there's nothing that anyone else can really do for you. Like you have to make that decision yourself. You have to pull yourself up. And it is something that I deeply admire. Being sober for 4 months, that's a big deal. That was still a big win for you. That's amazing. And it's not hard to do. I mean, it's not easy to do at all.
No, it's not. And like you said that too, even when you're grieving too from a loss, you can have everyone being supportive of you, but it's only going to be on your time and how you're going to get over yourself. It's like you end up becoming a much better person when you do figure it out. You go through so much stuff, and you show much more appreciation for life. And like I said, with Netflix and Kinetic now, my like outlook and all that kind of stuff now is so much more different and everything like that. And just certain things are so much more clearer and beautiful and whatnot. It just hit me so much at once that there's no book on how to handle a parent's death. There's no book on how to handle one TV show at number one, let alone 2 TV shows at number one, and then 2 parents' deaths, right? And then all of this stuff is happening at once. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And it was just madness.
People don't understand that being on Netflix and having a number one show, yeah, it's like so great, but it's also so much pressure and there's so much judgment, so many eyes on you. You can't leave the house without people knowing who you are. It's difficult to mourn and to grieve and to just be, when you're going through that.
Yeah, but it is awesome at the same time. It's just you got to have a good supporting cast around you when the show does come out, and I didn't have that at the time. It's when you have a good supporting cast, it is very helpful too.
No, I think that's so true. I think about Brett and Tiffany and Chelsea and Kwame and us all getting married and being in that same scenario. We were able to depend on each other and kind of have like a safe space, because it can be isolating when you go through this crazy experience that no one else will ever understand. And to be able to lean on one another, and even Amber and some of the people who, were my friends that went through it that maybe like weren't shown, it still felt like this very safe space. Like I remember coming back from the pods after Zach broke up with me, and I couldn't even really see any of my other friends. I just hung around the cast. Like I was just around the people that also came home.
Yeah, you're best friends with them. You're best friends with them until the show comes out, and then it's everyone for themselves at that time too. Then it's like people don't understand. We were all best friends after the show, but then before the show aired, we were all best friends. We hung out and we did everything together. We had like movie nights. We had
so bonding.
Happy hour. It was awesome. It was so nice to be with people that understood the crazy experience of your life with. But when that show airs and people start getting better stuff, opportunities, or some of the stuff you didn't hear about, it's happening, like then it just goes mad chaos as everyone kind of picks them for themselves, like 1 or 2 people, and then it's like you never really talk to them again sometimes, and it's unfortunate. But that's the way it is, unfortunately. But yeah, people understand, like we were all usually best friends from every season until the show airs, probably.
I think that's one of the things that I really was proud of our season. We all really tried to stick together regardless of how people kind of got portrayed. And we, for the most part, we weren't perfect, but we really tried to support each other. And there was a lot of grace, before the reunion. Almost the entire cast came together and we all prayed.
Yeah, we were. I think I think our cast was unique in a way where everyone was a little bit older. Not everyone, but a lot of us were a little bit older. And a lot of us just really had gone through really intense things in life already. Zach lost his mom, Brett had lost his brother. Everyone had gone through, Kwame was an immigrant and had, experienced a lot around that. And just everyone had gone through some intense stuff. And so I think we knew that this experience was something that we really needed to rely on each other. And we were very well aware that we were the only people that knew what it was like to go through that and that we needed each other.
But it is one of those things where all of a sudden everybody, it kind of reminds me of, I don't remember if in high school, there was always that kid who wanted to instigate a fight. He'd always try to get other kids to fight. Yeah. Well, this is probably a boys thing. Girls
Well,
maybe have
no,
different.
no,
No, there's a lot of mean girls out there now. Come on, dude. There
Mhm.
Yeah,
are.
maybe.
There
Yeah,
are.
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I just think about that kind of individual, and I remember I ended up in a couple fights actually that I like were primarily instigated not by the person I was fighting, but by someone else completely that was like trying to get us to fight for entertainment. and and so I think back to those little schoolyard brawls, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of similar. There are people on social media that they
Right.
just want you to fight, and
Mhm.
they're in there and they're trying to
Mhm.
get you to
Mhm.
instigate something. They want the drama, they want the messiness,
Mhm.
and you kind of have to come together and call out that.
I'll be the first to admit I loved it at the start too. Like being in that mess, like I fell for it all the time and whatnot. As I've learned now throughout this, the more attention you give it, the bigger it is, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, but I loved that kind of attention because I was getting more attention from it. So like
Mhm.
I got like I'm not gonna like be the one to lie about it. Like I loved the little attention that you'd get from it at times. I wasn't getting any attention from like outside of my life from other things that was going on. So like I would get the reactions from the internet. That would feel kind of like a weird, endorphin drug in your body that you got this quick little jolt of some drama. And if you want to stir some things up, be back in the news and get a little fun out of it. I fell for it all the time back. And now it's like I couldn't want anything less in my life. I want to move into a ranch out in Texas right now. I don't want anything. I know I still do be on social media to like get some work and stuff like that. But you don't see me in the last year or 2 years. I don't talk about this stuff. I don't do podcasts anymore. I don't do anything because I don't want any of that life anymore. I'm not a. I do need to be a PR nightmare a little bit more. I have to figure out a way to get back to it to a better, a healthier degree. I don't like that stuff anymore, dude. I'm just done with it. I am.
So you kind of answered this question, but I'm going to ask it again just to get the full answer. What is your mark that you want to leave on the world?
What I went through was very unique, and I know a lot of people. I never get so like as many DMs as I get when I'm talking about the death or the vulnerability side of that kind of stuff. So when I do those free FaceTime calls with my followers who are on Mother's Day sometimes or Thanksgiving when they're alone, I love doing that stuff for people. I want to know this guy was, you know, he truly cared for people and he changed people's lives and he got people out of what they were going through. But I wish I had someone that would have from a TV show. I wish someone would have reached out to me from, whether it was Netflix, ABC, or some kind of show, and they're like, dude, I would have trusted someone that went through this process if they reached out to me when I was going through my rough time, because I didn't trust anyone else because they never went through the process that I went through. So that's what it was. But I want to be someone that's like, I put it all out there. I went through horrible, horrible hate, for better or worse. And I want to be able to help people get out of that kind of dark spot. I really did inspire a lot of people with what I'm doing now, and like I'm making a change and just change people's lives, hopefully.
It's really beautiful. I think that with the platform that we have, that is the only meaningful way to really use it, in my opinion, is giving back and is being aware that you do have the power to help people, and that is such a special gift.
I kind of wanted to backtrack a little bit. We talked a little bit about once you got to rock bottom, but I don't think we talked in detail about how did you get out of it? Who was there to help you? What tools did you use to get clean? I know addiction is one of those things where most people who struggle with addiction, um, they relapse. It's part of the recovery process is relapsing, and recognizing that that doesn't mean that you're a failure. But also another thing that can be kind of nefarious with addiction is you'll find something different, something else to fill that loop, because at the core, whatever it was you were using, whether it was drugs and alcohol, whether it was your cell phone, it's to cope with an emotion, right? That's often
Yeah,
what addiction is. So
yeah,
I just was curious if you could share
yeah.
how did you get out?
I'll be honest with you, as you also have to have people that believe in you. You do need help. You at the end of the day, you do need help. I had a friend back in Chicago. Like I had no place to really go in life. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to keep going Airbnb. My friend gave me a stable home. I was Airbnb around. That kind of stuff wasn't healthy for me either because I still had no sense of home and no sense of family. He has a wife and two kids, and he's a pretty big house in the suburbs of Chicago. And his basement is basically like a two-bedroom apartment. It's like so like I had my own area downstairs, and he would invite me up for he was like, gave me a place to stay, but then it was like I wake up, I'd have breakfast with the family, I help take them to school to show me what it's like to be around a loving family again, and hopefully have that for myself again too. That was a huge thing. It was a wake up call to say life is beautiful. You just gotta remember what's more important in life, and that's what it was. Like I really believe he didn't have to take me in. He saw how bad I was, like, putting me around his kids, maybe like how big of a risk that was, but he believed in me as a person. You gotta have someone that believes in you. And I will do that to the day I die. If I see someone like that, I will take that shot on them, and I will do that. When you go through it and someone has your back and they do that for you, and it can change your life, like that's what it was. That's what I needed. I needed to see a sense of family again, a sense of purpose, and having a home that I could stay in for 2 months instead of just bounce around to Airbnbs because I didn't want to sign a lease in Chicago because I didn't really like it there again because it brought up a lot of bad memories. So I think that's what it was. He gave me the sense of just a sense of home, stability, structure, and what family is like again. My mom would not be proud. Like this is what I need to do. I need to get together. I started working out again, and like that was the backbone. First of all, like working out every day, taking care of myself. That was like huge. But I had a place to do that now, and that was the big thing that helped me get out of it. Was my friend and his wife.
I spent a little time volunteering out at the homeless shelters in Portland, and I had a conversation with one of the guys who was running the Portland rescue mission, and he told me the number one thing every person that was homeless that he was working with had in common, like the number one correlate or cause for their homelessness, it wasn't mental illness and it wasn't drug addiction. It was not having family.
Like a village.
Yeah. Yeah, like the stories that he would tell me, and I even some of the conversations I would have with some of the people. I met this one man who he was homeless, and he was telling me his story about how he'd kind of ended up on the streets, and I asked him if his kids knew that he was homeless, and he told me no. And that actually was when it clicked in my mind that my mother was homeless. And I didn't even know because I had tried to meet with her for like a year, and she had just been avoiding me, which is weird because my mother loved me. You know, she would drive across the country to spend like an hour with me, and so I like hadn't put two and two together. But it wasn't that my mom didn't have family; it was that she was so ashamed
Yeah.
of where she was that she didn't want her family to know how bad she had gotten, and she would rather hide and live in a storage unit than let me see her the way she was.
I was embarrassed enough just bouncing around Airbnbs. That's what I was doing, and I'm grateful that I was able to still be able to do that and have a roof over my head and whatnot. But I was still embarrassed by that kind of stuff, living, bouncing around and not having a life and just no stability as a 34, 35-year-old male. And I'm supposed to be taking care of people in my life and whatnot. Yeah, you're just embarrassed. Like you have nothing. You're not your together or nothing like that. And you don't want to tell anyone. It's hard to be vulnerable, especially when people are going to judge me on the internet, and then your family already judges you no matter what. My friend did it. I knew he was no judgment from him, and I didn't even go to him. He knew, like he just knew it. That's when you have a good friend, they know too, and like whatnot. Like I was around him a lot during that time, and like yeah, he just knew, and yeah, it was awesome.
I can only imagine the loss that you went through and to go through it with the whole world watching.
Mhm.
Um, and that's like a completely different challenge, right? Because you don't have the space to be invisible, right? And that's honestly, I feel like when you go through serious trauma, that's the first thing you want is just to isolate and to be invisible. And like that's not really an option when you're in the position that you were in.
Mhm.
No.
So I think, remind me, did Perfect Match film before your season of Love is Blind aired? So like you filmed it back to back?
People don't know this. I really haven't talked much about this, to be honest with you, because people haven't really asked. But so, as you guys know, you guys will appreciate this. And again, this could be for better or worse too. But when I was in Panama filming Perfect Match, the show just aired. The wedding episode did not air yet, so I didn't have my phone. I didn't have my phone on me. I didn't have my phone on me while the wedding episode was airing. And you get your phone for 15 minutes a day in Panama, and then so I'd open my phone, it would just break immediately because I was getting hundreds and hundreds of messages, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I'm getting like thousands of brand deals, 1,000. I had Big Sean reaching out to me in my DMs. Like I just had so much going on, and then I had to get my phone taken away, and I'm back filming a reality TV show again. Which again, I chose to do this 100%, but I didn't realize what I was getting into.
Yeah, you don't know. You don't know until you know.
It was wild. Like, you have your phone, but again, it could have been for better or worse because it also kept my mind out of what was going on back home too, to a certain degree. I didn't read the headlines because I wasn't able to read the headlines. I stayed out of the mess because I was forced to, which could have been a blessing in disguise for me, especially because I react very quickly to things back in the day. So it could have been a blessing in disguise for me, but it was a mind. Because I'm like, what is going on? Who's talking about me? What are they saying? I couldn't do anything about it. And meanwhile, I'm doing this stuff on the show too. I'm like, it was wild.
Yeah, I had no idea. That's so intense. Oh my God.
I imagine that actually
It might have been better to not have your phone for 15 minutes at all. Maybe no, because then you see a little bit of it, and then you're like, wait, but what's going on? And then it's gone, and you're like, oh my God.
Right. But my mom was able to watch this stuff too. So she's trying to say, are you okay? What's going on? She's hearing rumors about Love is Blind show. And I'm like, I can't talk to her because I'm in Panama.
Oh.
So it's like, it was just mad chaos for me. And no one else was going through that because everyone's season's already aired. Bartise, his show didn't even air yet. So I was the only one going through us. A lot of people on the show were already Netflix people for like a year or two now, and their show was already over with for a while. Yeah. Mine, I was right in the thick of it.
Oh my God.
I can only imagine because that's like the peak of when you're getting the most vitriol, right? Mm-hmm. Well, actually, I don't know. I feel like the most vitriol is probably mid-season. Mid-season feels like that's
maybe
when...
for you.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I mean,
I think that's probably true.
I feel like
for you because that was when you broke up with me, and then that's when you got a lot of
I actually watched it with my cousin, and we watched your season, and this is like I was doing the psych evals right before we were going to go on. Yeah, and I couldn't tell my cousin. I had to keep everything a secret. And so I'm staying at her place, and I was like, "Hey, I got to do this eval. Could you stay out of the out of your own apartment?" Out of your house.
And it was 3 hours. So she's like, had to be out of my own apartment for 3 hours because, of course, Zach talked until the cows came home.
Those psych evals or those questionnaires were freaking mind numbing. It was crazy.
It was a lot.
It was crazy.
Now you're living your dream, and
I'm happy.
You are happy. Yeah, you got a girlfriend. How long have you guys been dating?
So we've been dating. We've been talking since last April. So officially dating for about 6 months now.
How did you meet?
Yeah, so I followed her on Instagram first. But contrary to popular belief, everyone says, "Oh, Shayne DMs." No. She DM'd me first. And then we called each other that night. We had a 2-hour conversation on the phone. And it was just it was so random. But then one thing kept leading to another. We kept just DMing, just cute little stuff. And then it got a little more serious because we were connected to a show of Netflix. And she goes getting a lot of hate, and I got a lot of we were just helping her out and navigate some stuff. And she was going to go on Perfect Match, actually. That's the funny part. She was interviewing for season 3 of Perfect Match, and I was giving her advice on what maybe to do and how to handle it. That's the craziest part.
No way.
Yeah, and so she obviously, thank God, she ended up going on. Looking back, I would have been horrified and terrified if she did. But that's how we bonded. We started talking more and more, and we started genuinely appreciating each other and seeing each other's true character and the genuineness that she has, and the loving and the kindness that she has. And I'm like, the more I'm helping her, the more I'm like, should I not help her anymore because I don't want her going on this show?
Start sabotaging.
Yeah, I'm like, you actually should say this to them, and they'll make her not go on the show. So I was thinking of all this stuff, and like it all worked out. Again, it all worked out how I feel like how it was supposed to. And yeah, we're very happy now. I'm moving. I moved to Austin. We're in an apartment right now. We're looking for a house out here, not to buy, but like to rent a house out here now, out in the country, and just living a good social normal life. And yeah, it's been great. It's been awesome. She's awesome.
That's so great. We're so happy for you.
You guys moved in together pretty quick.
Yeah, we went. That was the one thing. I was like, we went full into it. We had no choice, kind of in a way. It's like if we're gonna do it, just find out right away if we're gonna like each other. So, but we did do Airbnbs together. So it wasn't like an apartment right away to like commit that way. So like we wanted to see if we could do it right away because we talked for so long on the phone FaceTiming. And then we're like, you know what? Let's just do it. We're not gonna half-ass like living each other's separate spots. Let's just see if it works. I'm 35 now. I know if I'm gonna like someone and if I can live with someone. But at this point too, I'm not 21 where I'm still figuring it out. I think I know what I want. I know who I am.
How do you think Perfect Match and Love Is Blind changed your approach to dating, or did it at all?
Oh, big time. I didn't date anyone after Perfect Match. I couldn't trust anyone. When I found her, it was really nice because she understood the Netflix stuff. She understood, the kind of attention that we would get and the jealousy that could come with this and that. And I just learned the trust was very hard to find again. And with her, it was like, just notice the genuine, she's very genuine.
Gush a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about her.
I have to because she says she's going to watch this too. So and Valentine's Day is coming up too. So I have to be on my best behavior. So yeah.
Zach is available for any tips. You always call him Mr. Romantic, and it's true. He's very romantic. So hit him up for some tips.
Zach, this is my first Valentine's Day with someone in probably 4 or 5 years. So
wow.
Yeah, so I can't say what I'm going to do on here because I don't know if it's going to get released for Valentine's Day or whatnot. But I have ideas. I've been thinking hard about this, so it's not going to be a last second thing. I'm thinking about all this stuff. I want it to be perfect because she deserves a lot, and I want it to be perfect. And yeah, I'm just very excited about it. It's like I love showing appreciation to someone, and like deserves it and stuff like that. And it'll be a fun day.
The fact that you even are thinking about it hard is gonna be enough. Like truly. Someone, just the idea that you are, even if it ends up being, something happens and it gets ruined, first, God forbid, but just saying that, she's going to appreciate it. She's going to appreciate that you put thought into it. That's what really makes, a good relationship, a good foundation for a relationship is just being thoughtful towards the other person. So
knowing my life though, something will give me a little curveball during this.
It keeps it interesting, Shayne. You know what? Things are not boring. That's good at least, right?
Zach, what did you do last Valentine's Day? What did you do?
Oh man.
I was pregnant. So I probably didn't want to do anything, huh? Oh no, took me. Oh, I took us to dinner. It was more, I think maybe I planned it a little bit more this year. That year, which I never do.
I got to go back and look at the pictures.
When you do too much, it's hard to remember all the stuff you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you deserve a day. You deserve for me to do things for you. So I actually planned it. I was probably really mean and was like, I want to go to this place. I'm doing this. So, because I was kind of mean sometimes when I was pregnant. But anyway, so I took us to this really nice dinner that had all these different courses, remember? And I had they kept bringing out stuff that I couldn't eat because I was pregnant. Oysters. And I would be so mad because I love oysters. And he'd like quickly take it from me and eat it. And I'm like.
But I did after the baby was born, I bought her 48 oysters. I bought all of the oysters that they had. And the guy looked at me. He was so mad. And I was like, hey, can you shuck these? He's like, I don't got time for that. I was like, what?
Anyway, I planned Valentine's Day last year. I did, and it was sweet and fun. But we went to bed really early, remember? And I was really big and pregnant. But the year before that, he had rose petals all over our apartment and got me oysters. I love oysters. And you cooked me steak and you wrote me that song, remember?
Wow. Dude.
And
wow.
Yeah, it was sweet. We're just genuinely so happy for you, Shayne. And your story is so inspiring. And there are so many people out there that go through loss and go through challenges. And it's something that I know that I appreciate hearing about. And there's a part of like self-forgiveness and self-love that kind of has to happen when you go through such an extreme experience like that. Learning how to be okay again, right? And just we're just really happy for you.
I think when I watched your season, Shayne, one of the things that I was thinking about as I was watching it, that no one was really talking about, and it felt like there wasn't enough discussion about it. I'm like, this guy just lost his dad 4 months before going on national television,
International.
international global television.
Hmm.
I felt like somehow that just got missed in all of the static, all the silly things, and I feel like you were very misunderstood in a lot of ways.
And that's okay. I've learned to be okay with that too, because like you said though too, is like I have like forgiven myself a lot of stuff because a lot of people in my DMs and whatnot, for better or worse, now are going through a lot of stuff and they
Hmm.
see it. And it had to happen to me because like I'm able to help people out now too. And a lot of people are gonna be
Mm.
like, "How could you do that, knowing what you've done in your past?" I'm like, you know what, you guys, what I was on that show 4 years ago. I'm a totally different person. People grow and they got to start. What I want people to understand that it's like people grow and like that's what your whole point is of life, right? I saw what I did wrong on that show, and I went through hell after, but I learned from it, and I try to grow and try to be a better person now. And it's like you can't we try to see the better in people and see what they're doing and how they're actually, what they're bringing into the world now, and that's what you really got to see it. People are going to grow and change. That's why I appreciate you guys though too. That's why I did this podcast, and like I always was a fan of you guys right away too. I was a big fan of you guys. You guys are very genuinely like great people. I can tell and whatnot. I wouldn't do this with just anyone. So like I really do appreciate you guys though too.
I remember getting your voice messages while we were just filmed the live reunion,
I
and we were
I
like,
remember it
"Oh,
too.
remember that.
Shane!" Yeah.
Yeah,
So thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining us and sharing your
of course,
story. And
guys.
hopefully, even if it just helps one person that's listening to this, that's worth it. And
Yep.
I appreciate your bravery and your courage. So
Why don't you talk just briefly about what you are doing right now? I know you've talked
Yeah.
a little bit about your coaching, but
Yeah.
what does that look like?
So I'm doing right now. It's been in the works for a long time. If I was going to do something like this, and people are going to commit their time and money to me, I felt like I had to be in the right mental space. I had to have the right people around me. So I have people helping me out with the logistics. I'm not very good at technology and websites and stuff like that. So I want this to be obviously an online coaching for fitness, but I want it to be different than I don't like, again, I don't call myself a creator or influencer to a degree. I don't like that word. I'm a creator, sure, but I want to offer something that's different than writing a program and then just saying bye. And here's your plan. You guys, this is what I did. Boom. I'm doing online coaching, so it's a lot of people that are going through what I'm going through. It's more of like, it's like a lifestyle thing, how to get over some hurdles in life that I went through. And I'm not perfect still, but I still want it to be more than just fitness. I want it to be like, a lot of people are, they lost their parents or they're going through depression, anxiety right now that I went through. But I know what I do and I bring that's a lot different is I'm very, very charismatic and personal, and I'm very positive, and my energy is very, very contagious. I know that. I do 2 Zoom calls with these groups of people. It's like I write them the workout plan, a diet plan, but also it's like a Telegram group, the community of people. We all have access to each other, asking questions, posting our wins for the day, anything like that. And it's like I'm also doing 2 Zoom calls with them. It's like a happy hour Zoom, ask a Q&A, let's see what's going on in life, and just more along the lines of just the mental aspect and just the physical aspect too. So I'm doing that, and I'm very proud of what's going on with that too so far. And I want to build a bigger community with it as well, and make it a bigger thing where we can do meetups and do even kind of wellness programs with it and whatnot, and just inspire more people. And this is, I think, it's like something that I can give back to, but also make it more of again, it's a business too. Like it's something that I can do. I love it right now so far. It's been fantastic.
if someone wants to join that, work with you in that way, what do? They send you a DM?
Reach out to me in the DMs, yep, and say they heard my amazing story on Zack and Bliss's wonderful podcast. Yeah, that's all you gotta do. Yeah, I'm not getting as many DMs as I used to back in the day. Now that I have a girlfriend and I've been off the show for a while, my DMs are kind of cold nowadays a little bit. So
You'll
and my girlfriend will love to
yourself.
hear that too. So yeah,
Aw,
That's
Yeah.
funny, man.
I love it.
yeah.
If there was one tip that you would give your past self to kind of get through what you went through, what would it be?
I think like anyone, I think a lot of people, it's just don't be so hard on yourself. Comparing in that kind of world we live in nowadays, I can easily right now compare to like how you guys have kid, you have a beautiful kid now, and like you guys seem to be killing it with your stuff and work and everything like that. And like I wasn't, and I should be, because I was a couple seasons before you. But like I was always so hard on myself because I saw so much potential in myself and what I was able to do. But I realized, anything good takes time, and it wasn't meant to be during a time with what I was doing. And now it's like I couldn't have done what I'm doing now 2-3 years ago. It'd been a disaster. It'd been a mess. It'd been embarrassing. It's like, be patient. Time will come when it's supposed to happen. Don't force it. But you also got to put yourself in that position to get ready too when it does happen. And that's what I did. I took time. I was patient with the recovery process. Got myself mentally good too with a lot of stuff. And then the time came when it was ready. Like it just didn't happen. I was ready for it when the opportunity presented itself. And just, people are always putting so much pressure on, being where you have to be right now. And it's like, no, man, it's like, I'm so happy right now where I am at 35. I've never been happier and like healthier. And it's just, it will come, and you just got to take care of yourself first.
I think that's really good advice. I think in my 20s that caused me a lot of anxiety because I actually wanted to get married a lot earlier in life, and I wanted to have a family a lot earlier. And I remember like that caused me a lot of anxiety for a long time, and I felt like I'm like, okay, why don't I have my life figured out yet? And I would definitely compare myself to my friends. And I think, I'll still fall into that sometimes, comparing myself. And I think you're absolutely right. That is a critical to a happy life, is to avoid comparisons.
And again, but also understand that it does happen, but don't let it happen for 2 days straight or 3 days. Like, let it happen, be in that moment and soak it in, but then get over it. But you gotta be self-aware of the stuff you're going through, because it is life and it does happen.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shayne.
Thanks, Shayne.
Had a blast. I had to text Julie from up here, the dog. She let the dog out, so the dog wouldn't bark on here because my dog's a little crazy. So
Okay, well, have fun, and we're look forward to hearing how Valentine's Day goes.
thank you guys.
Bye.
Shayne.
Hey, tell your mom I say bye too.
Oh, I will. Take
Okay,
care.
see you guys.
Bye.